The Heart Easy system is a 12-part course that explains the training system used in all BC Endurance fitness programs. The following lesson and the accompanying conversation between student athlete Charlene R. and coach Brian Clark will help you better understand the system so you can use it to improve your training and racing as it did for Charlene in this case study. Unit 5, Lesson 11, and the post-race debrief. Optimizing race exertion. It's difficult to anticipate that Charlene could have a great race experience when, only 3 weeks earlier, at the same half-marathon distance, she had an ignominious race experience. Her husband had paced her through the first 5 miles. By 8 miles, she was slowing down and decidedly disgruntled. I had heard the story several times already about the long, steep hill that she had to negotiate at a certain pace to keep her on track for, in my opinion, an unreachable finish time. Her next race would have a similar hill, giving her an opportunity to approach it with a new and more forgiving attitude. During a training run on that hill the morning of our meeting, Charlene had managed to slow down enough to experience the hill at a relaxed level. The pace was slow by her standards, but her energy was so good on the other side of the hill that she was able to pick up the pace, an encouraging sign. During our meeting, Charlene had trouble understanding the term optimal in a racing context, but she seemed to get it about using the first 5 miles as a warm-up, and she resolved to let her pace take care of itself instead of forcing it or even paying attention to it as she had so often in past races. After her race, I invited Charlene to a debriefing session with me during a midweek light exertion conference call workout. I won't give her results away here. Suffice it to say that even though her time was the same as it had been 3 weeks earlier, her experience was vastly different. Conversations on the Heart Easy system. Lesson 11. The Marathon Revisited. Can you finish without crashing? In this lesson, Charlene thinks about the exertion structure necessary for performing her best in a race. The last lesson deals with the race, let's say. It doesn't matter if it's a marathon or a half marathon or whatever, because it's all the same in terms of what the concept that I'm dealing with here. Lesson 11 is about pacing races at your maximum sustainable level of exertion. Running within that optimal range puts you in a position to finish a race with a very hard to all-out effort, but without a crashing slowdown. Here's a graph showing 5 different marathon exertion structures. They represent 5 different athletes with 5 different marathon finish times between 4 and 8 hours. Let's say that each of these times represents the athlete's fastest possible performance for the marathon. If these times are as fast as each athlete's ability allows, can we consider the exertion curves to be optimal? Let's say that that exertion level for each one of those athletes represents their fastest performance for the distance.
Okay.
So the question is, would you say that those lines then are optimal?
I would say yes, because there's not much fluctuation in the line. It's not going
not
up
up
and
and
down.
down.
It's pretty steady. So yes, it is optimal.
Well, yes, I agree. So you're getting an idea of what they had to do in order to perform their best. I haven't heard you say yet that the shorter the race, the higher the level of exertion can be. The longer the race, the lower it has to be in order to not crash. Remember, the context here is
Long race.
it's a long race, but we want to finish it without crashing.
Yeah.
That means slowing down drastically. Okay, so what is it that's going to get you to the end of the marathon without crashing?
Just the Honolulu Marathon.
I'm sorry?
Just the Honolulu Marathon.
That was the bad one, right?
Oh, I ran it 4 times and it was all bad. And that I can run better other places. So.
And what was the difference?
I don't know if it was Diamond Head or if it was the course, the weather.
You ran on the mainland.
I ran on the mainland and other islands. Cooler. I would say my best marathon in Hawaii was it was rain in Hilo and it was raining the whole time.
Best marathon because it was cooler.
It was cooler.
Yeah, that's the main thing about running in Honolulu. It's a hot weather marathon. And only maybe 1 year out of 10 or 8 is it like good weather.
But I don't want to use that as an excuse because I live here and I want to like be used to it.
You want to not only be used to it, but know how to run
and run it
wisely. The event. You have to accept that you're not going to be able to run as fast as you will on the mainland in cooler weather. That's the first thing.
Yes.
And then the hotter it is, the slower you're going to have to go. So you're beginning to get the idea of what it means to run an optimal effort race. It's different from a training run. What's the major difference, do you think?
Well, in the training run, you're not giving it your all. You're not aiming to go
all out.
You're aiming for all out or personal record.
Right. What are you aiming for in a workout? What's the purpose of a workout?
To increase energy and avoid pain.
Yes, that's good, but there's a more fundamental purpose. The reason you're out there doing a workout, what is it?
For me, it's to get faster.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you do a workout to build stamina, sometimes tempo, sometimes power, you see. And each time you go out, you do a certain activity to build a certain ability, and you're doing it by the rules, and you have one central rule. It's the golden rule. What's that?
Oh gosh, the golden rule. That is, do not.
The golden rule is end all workouts when you get fatigued.
Fatigue. That's the one. That's the one I was working on.
So now, all of that is training. Racing is a different thing. After the half, it's anything goes.
Okay.
In the sense of effort. You can go all out. The purpose of a race is to prove that you're better than the other guy. You see, that's all it is. Or you prove to yourself that you can do a certain time or whatever it is. I mean, there are all kinds of reasons to do a race. And you'll see as we get into this, you decide what you want as an outcome for a race, like we've talked about for Hapalua. What kinds of things can you do that would make it a win? You see, you can run even slower than you just did, and it would be a win if you set it up to be a win in your mind.
Okay.
You see. Conversations on the Heart Easy System, debriefing Charlene's Hapalua half marathon race experience, a story of redemption transformation, and victory. Tell me what's on the top of your mind at the moment. Just tell us.
Well, every race I ever have is really bad. So I went over with Brian my frustrations, and so he said keep the first 5 miles as a warm-up, and I had to hold my fire, hold my ground, and not get caught up in everyone going out too fast around me, run my own race. My comfortable pace was a little bit faster than when I'm doing an easy run on a weekday, but it was fine. I didn't need to think about the numbers. I just was, doing my thing. And then when the time came to push, I pushed a little bit on mile 6 and it felt good. So I just kept going. And when I got to Montserrat, I just went back to, keeping myself comfortable because I knew there was a downhill coming up way up at the top of the hill. So I just stayed controlled, ran my own race, and then I charged it down to the bottom by Triangle Park, and then I controlled myself going up by Diamond Head Lookout. And normally I'm in a bad mood by the time I get here, and I'm walking, and no matter which direction I'm going in Diamond Head, I'm in a bad mood because I was reckless in the beginning when I knew I wasn't trained enough to hold that pace, that effort. And then I went harder going down towards the fountain, but I still controlled myself because I wanted to have a strong finishing kick. And once I got to the fountain, I started going, okay, I'm going to pick off 5 people. Now I'm going to pick off 10 people. And then I was racing. There were 2 girls around me trying to race me. And then once I got to the tennis court, I took off and they couldn't keep up. And I just kept passing people. My husband was cheering for me before the finish. I got to go in the finish. And I was ragged edge at this point. I was swearing, but I was smiling. I went in through the finish right behind 2. I crossed and it was amazing. I had a great run. I have never finished that solid before in a half marathon. My husband said he's never seen me smiling at the finish, and I've done a lot of races, so I had no complaints about how I did. Yeah, it was good. So,
well, that's terrific. Yeah.
When Lonnie giggles, it's like music to my ears.
Mm-hmm.
And she was giggling a fair amount while you were talking there.
I love the way she went through her story of her run and how she basically talked herself starting out, and she knew what she was doing and what she had to do, and my gosh, it worked, especially at the end, coming to the finish line. I wish I could have seen that.
Yeah, it was good.
Hearing her tell what she was going through and everything. And usually she's not in a good mood when she gets to Diamond Head and all that. I couldn't help but chuckle. I mean,
oh yeah.
That's great, Charlene.
Yeah.
It's different from my Windward Half 3 weeks ago. Brian knows what I went through for that. So I was already in a bad mood for that because they had, Enchanted Lake in the beginning. And I had my husband pace me for the first 5 miles just to get me around Enchanted Lake. And I was mistakenly going for a pace time for Enchanted Lake. And then I was supposed to just hold on to whatever I had after that. And I just dropped off. I couldn't even handle the last 3 miles was really difficult. I couldn't even pick it up. It was really disappointing, and I was angry myself. I was like, why couldn't I hold the pace I had in the first 5 miles? And with Hapalua, I didn't look at my watch really. I tried not to look at my Garmin. I was trying not to think about those numbers during the run because then I would get caught up like I always do for every race, regardless of the distance. I'm like, pace. And it's just that's not what it's about. So that's it.
Well, you did a great job. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you.